Hey everybody, Paul here with Road Trip Transport. We're going to talk about Enterprise. If any of you guys have been watching any of my videos, you've known we've kind of gone away from Enterprise. We've gotten away from them. We just finally turned in our last truck. I want to explain to you kind of why. One of the reasons there's multiple reasons why we went to Big Truck, and not all of them are related to Enterprise. But Enterprise kind of helped us make that decision. I still like Enterprise. I like their program, but here's the issue, right? When I started the program, it was still relatively new. I mean, it had been around for a while, but it was really getting traction, getting legs, and so on and so forth. And they behaved like a small company. They told me straight up, we want your cost to be 21 cents a mile. If you get 5,000 miles one month, 8,000 the next, and 3,000 the next, we're going to take that 2,000 miles and roll it to the next month, and you can cover it in that next month. They were really making an effort to try to make everything to be 21 cents a mile. And then it got big and corporate started getting involved, and you started to eliminate that flexibility. And when you eliminated that flexibility, costs started going up. For example, right? They had an account with Firestone and with Goodyear. And they wanted you to service their trucks at those locations. However, we were running into massive problems with these locations not willing to work on our trucks, saying they weigh 14,000 pounds because they're too dumb to realize that gross vehicle weight rating is not what the vehicle weighs. There were times we would stop at 3 different Firestones trying to get our truck serviced, and they literally wouldn't service them, refused to service. Even after calling Enterprise, they still would refuse to service.
There's a speed trap ahead.
So what we were doing initially, because of this issue, was we were just going to our own places. I was finding mom and pop shops that were a reasonable price, and I was just going through them. And, and then I would just submit that receipt for reimbursement. Boom, reimbursed. Easy to do. But they started to become sticklers on it. They started only giving $80 for a fuel change or whatever it was. They started giving virtually nothing for the stuff, trying to force you to go to Firestone, which would be fine if I wasn't wasting days trying to find places to get services. So we went from getting our services done on time to now all of a sudden we're missing services because we're trying to find places in Wyoming to service it that keep refusing to work on them. Then we're getting yelled at corporate because we missed this oil change, and it was a pain in the butt, and it was frustrating. And finally, I told it was. The cherry on top was we had a little bit of damage when somebody backed into the front bumper of one of our trucks, which I knew, whatever, we would have to pay the deductible on the insurance because we had Enterprise insurance. But what got me is when I got the bill, there was all of these items for loss of use and so on and so forth that we had to pay for. And not once did Enterprise pay for our loss of use while I'm running around from city to city to city trying to find Jiffy Lubes or whatever, Firestones, that would actually work on our truck, because we lost hours and hours and hours and days and days. Then we would waste time sitting there waiting on approval. I mean, the amount of time we wasted waiting on Enterprise to figure out their services was days, over the life of the truck. Now, it wasn't at first. This was only towards the end where this really started becoming an issue. And so it just became, and that cherry on top, getting charged for that bumper for a loss of use, but I can't charge them for loss of use. Well, their trucks, I'm waiting on their service centers that they're forcing us to go to not work on our trucks. And that really hit me the wrong way. It was just kind of that little cherry on top. The other thing was the flexibility went away. If we hit 4,000 miles, we just had to eat that 1,000 miles that we didn't use of the 5, and they used to work with us. And so that 21 cents a mile, and then the price got raised. It went from 21 to 23, and the writing's on the wall that it's going to go to 25. At 21, it made sense. At 23, it's starting to be more of a wash. At 25, it is a wash. Anything above 25 cents a mile, it makes more sense to buy a truck. And that's why we went to big rigs. And their insurance was going up. We had insurance through them. That was going up. And because of all these nitpicky things, that truck wasn't costing me 23 cents a mile. It was costing me 24, 25, 26. When they started not allowing, not rolling mileage over. So the problem I had with Enterprise was that flexibility that made them so advantageous to use in the beginning went away. Their corporate got involved. They lost that small company feel, and they turned into a corporation that would not work with you. And that was one of the reasons we left. Now, that's not the only reason, but that's one of the reasons. The costs were just going up too high, and it made more sense to just buy. And I have said in a lot of my videos, I would never buy a pickup for this work. That's why we're doing big rigs. The pickups don't last. That's why we rented them, because I didn't need to worry about it. Pulling this stuff with pickups is just, it doesn't make sense. So we went with big rigs. So that is kind of quick summary on what's going on with Enterprise, why we've decided to leave Enterprise. Is it still a good program? Yeah, I think it is. It makes sense for a lot of different situations. It really makes sense for non-CDL people to get their single axles. It makes sense for them decently, but it makes sense for camper haulers that are only doing it seasonally. You rent a truck for 6 months, you run campers during the busy season, and then you turn it back in. Makes sense for those guys. It does make sense for some people. It didn't. It was making less and less sense for us. And I've actually already talked to Enterprise about all this and kind of given them this feedback. But that, guys, is kind of why we've gone away from Enterprise and why we've gone away from Hotshot. I've told you the other reasons we've gone away from Hotshot, but this is one of the reasons we went away from Hotshot. Was the Enterprise program was not as good as it once was, and I would not buy pickups to do what we're doing. They just don't last. So, all right, guys, we will talk to you later. Thank you. We'll see you.